Gamers and gamerettes, VR is in a bad spot right now. Meta is officially pulling the plug on parts of its dream. Roughly 10% of Reality Labs is getting laid the freak off. We're talking over 1,000 people and 3 VR studios are straight up poof gone. Armature Studios, Sanzaro Games and Twisted Pixel. If anyone knows anything about them,
they're the talented ones.
This comes after Reality Labs burned over $50 billion since 2020 chasing the Metaverse, a product nobody asked for, barely understood, and absolutely did not adopt. Internally, executives are now calling VR a leaner, flatter organization. But we all know they just lit the money on fire and now they're freaking panicking. But of course, they do have a backup plan. What's their backup plan, you might ask? Move away from VR and dump those savings into AI wearables and phone features. Ooh, and we need to trust them, guys, because it's definitely gonna work this time.
Definitely.
So how in the world of freaking freaks did it get this bad in the first place? Well, let's find out. Now, to get a better grasp of things, guys, let's rewind just a little bit to a time when Meta decided it wasn't a social media company anymore. It was a vision company.
With a trademark.
Around 2020, they looked at the slowing Facebook growth. They smelled the irrelevance creeping in and they freaked out. Normally, a company would strive to fix whatever problems they had. But instead though, they did what every terrified tech giant does. They invented a new word, slapped the word future on it and started bombarding money into a hole. That hole was the freaking Metaverse. And look guys, early on there was a theoretical pitch. We're talking VR meetings, virtual offices, digital worlds where people would work, play, socialize, and somehow tolerate wearing a sweaty dumbbell on their faces for freaking hours. It does sound cool as a pitch, but it sounds like absolute crap in real life. Because the moment you leave the keynote stage and enter the real world, reality punches you in the throat. The headsets were expensive, they were clunky, they were isolating. Most people didn't want them, they didn't need them, and they sure as hell weren't begging for a second life run by the same company.
That couldn't stop leaking user data in the first place.
Did Meta read the room though? Oh heck no, they doubled the freak down, then tripled down, then slapped money around like Jordan freaking Belfort. Reality Labs was bleeding cash year after year without delivering a single killer product that normal humans actually wanted. Well, anyways, not the kind that makes you, wanna wake up thinking, man, I wish my grocery shopping was in VR. And yet, internally, the spending never slowed. Billions after billions kept flowing because once you've committed publicly to the future, backing out looks like the failure. And corporate ego hates failure more than it hates layoffs. That's where the sunk cost fallacy kicked in hard. Instead of asking, is this working? The question kept on becoming, how much longer can we pretend it will? So studios kept building games for a platform with a tiny audience. Engineers kept optimizing hardware nobody was buying. Executives kept saying adoption was just around the corner.
Like the Metaverse was late because it missed traffic.
Meanwhile, the warning signs were freaking screaming. Engagement was low, retention was worse. Even employees reported they didn't want to use the damn thing. When your own staff won't touch the product, that's not a red flag. That's a freaking air raid sirens. By the time leadership started talking about legendary misadventures and sustainability, the damage was already done. And that word, sustainability, I used to love it a lot when it meant something. Now it's just a term thrown around corporations like freaking coffee. Anyways, tens of billions gone, years wasted, careers built on a promise that turned out to be freaking vaporware. And guys, we could blame bad luck or it was too early for this tech, but it's crystal clear. This was a company mistaking stubbornness for vision.
And refusing to admit that the future they were selling, well, it just wasn't coming, guys.
I don't honestly believe VR failed because of the technology or the developers or the studios. This failure lives squarely where it always does in stories like this. Leadership, strategy, and execution freaking delusion. Armature, Sanzaro, Twisted Pixel, these weren't amateurs playing indie roulette. These were proven teams making actual games that people liked inside a system that was non-functional from the top down. These poor studios were told to build for something that barely existed, on hardware that barely sold, for an audience that barely cared. They were literally ordered to decorate a sinking ship and then suck up the blame when it hits the freaking ocean floor. This is what happens when these suits confuse forcing adoption with earning it. That distinction matters a lot because when adoption, guys, doesn't happen organically, the pressure doesn't land on leadership. It rolls downhill. Studios get told to do more with less, developers get crunched without clarity, and when the numbers still don't magically improve, guess who gets sacrificed to protect the narrative? Trust me, it's not the suits.
It's never the freaking suits.
And this is where the Andrew Bosworth quote fits the freak in, calling the metaverse a potential legendary misadventure if Reality Labs didn't turn things around wasn't self-awareness. It was basically foreshadowing. Because gamers and gamerettes, by the time leadership was publicly acknowledging risk, they had already locked the company into a path where failure was the only remaining outcome. Meta, you don't get to spend $50 billion and then gently move on. You either admit you screwed the freak up or you start firing people until the data looks, less embarrassing. And you can guess which one the corporations always go for.
Ding, 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 ding. Correct answer.
And guys, what makes this especially infuriating is that Meta didn't even fail trying something amazing. Amazing would have been iterating, listening, scaling back, or pivoting early. What they did instead was corporate tunnel freaking vision. They decided the future ahead of time and treated reality as an inconvenience that needed more funding to shut up. When the public didn't care, they blamed education. When adoption lagged, they blamed market maturity. When engagement sucked, they blamed being early. At no point, guys, no point whatsoever did they seriously entertain the possibility that people simply didn't want what the freak they were selling. And when the fantasy finally collapsed, the cost wasn't paid by the suits who made the call. It was paid by engineers, artists, designers, and entire studios who did exactly what they were told. That's the real freaking failure right here, guys. Not VR, not creativity, not even ambition. It's stupid freaking leadership that mistakes confidence for competence. This wasn't a tech problem, it wasn't a timing problem, it wasn't even a hardware problem. It was a decision-making problem where the ego mattered more than the freaking evidence. And now that the metaverse dream is quietly being shoved into a drawer labeled mobile focus, the same leaders get to pretend this was all just a normal business adjustment. Like, they didn't torch years of work and thousands of livelihoods chasing a long-reach dream. So if anyone asks you, don't tell them the metaverse failed. You tell them Meta failed the metaverse. Quick question to you, my dear gamers and gamerettes. What do you do when you've burned $50 billion? Well, Meta wants us to believe the next big idea is AI wearables. Glasses with cameras and with microphones and a price tag that stomps on your bank account on your freaking credit cards. If this is giving you deja vu, congratulations, you have amazing pattern recognition. Because don't mistake this as a new playbook. This is the exact same playbook as the metaverse, just shrunk down to something you can wear on your face. Same hype language, same future of computing pitch, same promise that this time people will totally change their daily behavior for a product, once again, nobody asked for. The only difference is, instead of strapping a brick to your head, you're now wearing something that looks like it's spying on everyone around you. These AI glasses don't replace your phone, they depend on your phone. They don't solve a clear, painful problem. They just add density. Guys, they rely on constant connectivity, constant data collection, and constant trust in a company that has spent the last decade treating privacy like an Instagram post. And we're supposed to believe this is it's going mainstream? Come the freak on, Meta. We've seen this rodeo times and times and times again. Your tech executives, Meta, they fall in love with a concept because it demos well, not because it fits into real life. They imagine a world where people are excited to talk to an AI assistant out loud in public, record their surroundings constantly, and explain to strangers.
No, it's not creepy. It's the future.
Meanwhile, in reality, normal humans are actually just, they're trying to cross the street without being accidentally live-streamed by some tech bro cosplaying as freaking Tony Stark. But if you thought I was done, not at all, guys. You've got the privacy nightmare. Cameras always on, microphones always on, AI processing layered on top. Even if Meta swears up and down that everything is safe, secure, and totally not being abused, trust is already gone, guys. You don't get to repeatedly screw up user data for years and then ask people to wear your surveillance hardware on their face. That's the definition of delusion with a product SKU. And be honest with me, guys, it all feels familiar, doesn't it? The metaverse was supposed to be inevitable, like Thanos. Resistance was framed as ignorance, skepticism was brushed off as not seeing the vision. And now we're right back there again, except instead of virtual offices, it's AI enhanced daily life. Same dance, same arrogance, same refusal to ask the most important question of all: who is this actually for? Because if the answer is early adopters and investors, then we already know how this ends. Another slow burn, another hype cycle, another quiet pivot once reality doesn't cooperate. And of course, eventually, another round of layoffs dressed up as strategic refocusing. Now, AI wearables, they might work someday, or they might not work at all. But betting the company on them right now sounds like, real panic to me, guys.
Different device? Same exact mistake.
What do you guys think about all of this? Will Meta actually succeed with these weird Dexter looking AI glasses, or shall I prepare a destructively roasting script in 2 to 3 months? Please drop your thoughts down below.
And I will sell you my Casio watch that predicts the future. It works, it works. Trust me, broskis.
And guys, thank you once again for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please consider leaving a like and subscribing for more content in the future. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.